Let me just touch on this message this morning because it is very apropos with what has been happening in the service. This was not the direction I had planned to go earlier in the week or in the series that we're kind of working toward, but I have just felt through the latter part of this week especially to deal with the question or with the issue of questions. Our life daily is full of questions. Probably the number one question in all of our lives that we face over and over and over is why? And yet, there seems at times to be so few answers to that why. The book of Job is really an entire book of questions. And that question is in there over and over and over and over and over. Why? And really the only answer that the whole book of Job gives is this: trust me. Trust me. And to be honest with you folks, it is the hardest thing to do, whether you're a brand new believer or whether, like some of us, you've been in the way for a long time. Hard to just get to that place. You want to figure it out, to know why I'm here. And so often we would feel better if we just knew we were being punished. I mean, at least if I knew I'd done wrong and I was being punished, that there's an answer for this. But so often in our lives, we're in the midst of situations and we're doing the best we can, and we can't, even if we search our whole hearts, we can't see really where we've been in error, and yet things are not going the way we would expect them to or want them to. So we say, why? There's just a few questions I want to ask, and I want to get to the last one as quickly as I can because to me it is one of the most important. But first, Job was asked a question, and the question was, does any man serve God for nothing? Basically, we'd turn that around and say, what's in it for us by serving God? And Job was at a place to where there was no evil in his life. The enemy of our soul himself went to God and said, what about that guy Job? He does right in everything he does. And then Satan said, I know why. Because you give him all the stuff you give him. That's why he walks like that. That's why he obeys. That's why he's perfect. It's because of everything you give him. And God said, you think so? This is Pete translation. Think so? Take away the stuff. I give you permission. Take away the stuff. And Job answered the question. In the 20th verse of the first chapter, Job stood up, tore his robe in grief, shaved his head, fell to the ground to worship. He said, I came naked from my mother's womb, and I'll be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me everything that I have, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord. That's not the response you would expect, is it? In all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. And even those around him didn't understand. His wife said, you got to be nuts, man. Curse God and die. He replied, you talk like a foolish woman. Should we accept only good things from the hand of God and never anything bad? So in all this, Job said nothing wrong. I wish that it were as easy as saying when things are bad, it's because we've made errors, we've made mistakes. It's just not so. Life comes with its good and its bad. Another scripture says it rains on the righteous and the unrighteous. You say, Pastor, why? It doesn't seem fair to me. I don't know why. just must somehow learn to trust him with everything that I am. I do believe one of the real temptations that we have is we get to feeling like this life is all there is. Now, we wouldn't admit that. But this is what's the most important thing. My oldest son and I had a conversation yesterday. I don't know why we had this conversation. We have strange conversations every once in a while. And somehow we got into this thing of the fact that when he dies, he wants to be burned. And his wife's all freaked out because he wants to be cremated. And basically his mother and his dad are kind of creeped out about that too. But we got into this conversation, and he said, Pop, he said, if we believe what we believe, why do we get so up in the air about believers dying? He said, you've taught me all my life that heaven's better than earth. That it's like, he said it this way, my strange son. He said, life is like a Yugo. Do you know what a Yugo is? Some of you do, some of you don't. It's an old car that was worthless. It was a piece of junk. Came from, guess where it came from? Yugoslavia. Yes. He said, life is like a Yugo. And heaven is like the finest Mercedes. He and I saw a Mercedes at a golf tournament a couple of years ago. It was just pretty cool. It was about $300,000. Pretty nice little car. And he was comparing the two. And he said, heaven is like, and we still want to stay in the Yugo. And we get all upset because someone trades their Yugo for the Mercedes. One of our problems in asking all of these questions about life is we honestly somehow think this is better. We've somehow become convinced that this is the epitome of life. This is just the warm-up, folks. If you know Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, you have a promise for you that is beyond our thinking and imagination. Yeah, I don't believe in that. I'll deal with that in a minute. Okay. Why am I a righteous man suffering, he asked. Is it true that God will not allow the righteous to suffer? And that was answered. Is it true that suffering has value in scriptural or spiritual discipline? And that has answers. It enables us to set priorities and attain proper values. It enables us to better know ourselves. It helps one to be thankful and more conscious of God's blessings. All of these things are true when the adverse happens in our life. But here's the final question. Can a mere man be a true judge of God's activity? Can we ever get smart enough to figure all of this out? I have people all the time tell me, well, I don't believe in heaven, or I don't believe in the rapture, or I don't believe in this, that, or the other. And to be honest with you folks, I know it's important to you what you believe or what you don't believe, but it doesn't change a thing. And I would say to you, if you really want to believe there's no heaven or no hell, you better be right. Because if there's any chance that you're not, it's eternity that we're talking about. Job and his friends. Job never denied God. There was one point in time he said, cut it and stone and lay it in lead. I know my Redeemer lives. And that was not after things got better. That was when things were still at their worst. But these friends had other questions about the reality of God. And so this is my favorite part of the book of Job. God comes into the conversation. God comes and he sits with Job and he has a few questions of Job. We're in the 38th chapter, starting with the 2nd verse. Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorant words? Brace yourself like a man, because I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. I like that. Sit down, boy. It's time to talk. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you know so much. Who determined its dimensions and stretched out the surveying line? Who supports its foundations and who laid its cornerstone? As the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. Who kept the sea inside its boundaries as it burst from their womb, as it clothed it with clouds and wrapped it in thick darkness? For I locked it behind barred gates, limited its shores, and I said, this far and no further will you come. Hear you proud waves, much must stop. Have you ever commanded the morning to appear and caused the dawn to rise in the east? Have you made daylight spread to the ends of the earth to bring an end to the night's wickedness? As the light approaches, the earth takes shape like clay beneath the soil. It's robed in brilliant colors. The light disturbs the wicked and stops the arm that is raised in violence. There are those who would propose to you, even in your educational world, that all of this just happened. Boom. It just happened. Listen, if you're going to believe that nonsense, you really must have some kind of faith. Because there's no evidence for that. None. Matter of fact, there's no common sense to that whatsoever. There's nothing that is this intricate that could be accidental. I mean, even when we've talked about this morning, the attack of the enemy against our bodies. Our bodies are such, you think a computer's intricate. A computer's a toy compared to the human body. And God formed it. I do hope you're watching the Bible on the History Channel. And I hope that you'll watch it again tonight. The picture that I liked the best from last week's depiction was Adam coming out of the dirt. The only thing that bothered me, it didn't last long enough. It was a phenomenal picture. That the God of the universe took the most base thing we could think of and formed man and breathed into him life. And you're going to come up with a better idea than that? I can't imagine it. I love it where he says, did you visit the storehouses of the snow? Who created the channel for the rain? Can you give birth to the dew? Can you direct the movement of the stars? Can you shout to the clouds and make it rain? Can you stalk prey for a lioness and satisfy the young lion's appetites? Then it goes on in another chapter. And he introduces two animals that we don't have exactly like in our dictionary. The behemoth and the Leviathan. And he describes them. And one of them, the description of it is a fire-breathing dragon. It's exactly what it is. The other is the largest of the dinosaurs that you've ever seen depicted. And God asked Job, did you ever take one of them for a walk? Did you ever decide to put a bridle on one of those kind of things? Now, there's all kinds of discussions of how those kind of animals got into that discussion. I don't know. But this I know it's the most fearsome thing I can think of. To think of having to put a bridle on a fire-breathing dragon without being a Krispy Kreme.